welcome to So You Think You Can Dev, a KMS debrief on all things digital. Today, we are joined by two members of the KMS technology team to discuss nearshoring. And nearshoring is a topic that has been rapidly gaining attention. Google search data is showing an increase in up to 200% for some nearshoring development terms over the past 12 months. So there's a lot of interest here, and I'm really excited to talk to two of our experts today about this phenomena, about some of the trends that are impacting nearshoring and how companies might approach it. So we'll start by welcoming Alexis López, our Senior Director of Delivery. Welcome, Alexis.
Hi, Addie. Thank you. Thanks for having me. So I'm a Senior Director of Delivery here at KMS. Previous to KMS, I've been working in the services industry, especially out of Mexico for about 15, 17 years. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about nearshore and the benefits of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We also have Jason Stafford here, our Nearshore Delivery and Operations Director. Welcome, Jason.
Hi, Adi. Thanks for having me also. As you mentioned, I'm currently leading operations and delivery out of Mexico. I've been here since 2008 when nearshoring first started, getting traction here. And I'm excited to be here and share some of my experiences with all of you.
Awesome. Love it. So both of you have a lot of experience working out of Mexico. So I'd love to learn what kind of factors are shaping the current tech landscape in Mexico. It's a huge nearshoring hotspot, so would love to get your take on what that looks like today.
Yeah, I mean, if I can start, I say that there's a few factors that are contributing to the current trend. As Jason mentioned, this is not a new thing. It has been going on for a while. Around 2008, 2010, we can see a big trend of a lot of companies going to Mexico for nearshoring services, but particularly in Guadalajara, this has been going on for about 50 years. In the 70s, companies like HP, Kodak, Intel, they open plants there initially for manufacturing services, but then they realized that there was a huge offer of engineering capabilities. So they started opening development centers. And for people that don't know, the first Intel computer was built in Guadalajara, and not only built, but designed in the Guadalajara campus, right? So this is not a new phenomenon, but the current phenomenon of nearshoring has a few different characteristics. And one of the most important is that it's being supported by the government. The government of Mexico at a federal level, but also at a state level, in the state of Jalisco, have realized that signing deals with US companies and with US entities such as California to bring investments in the tech industry, to bring companies into Mexico to open operations there, yields a lot of benefits for the community. So all the way from universities, the market, and the government in Mexico, they feel that tech is the way to go. Tech is how you bring benefits to the society, not only right now, but for the future. So nearshoring is a part of that. And there's a lot of benefits that we can talk more about that, but I will feel like those components are affecting positively how nearshoring is doing right now. What do you think, Jason?
It's really amazing. I agree to think back in 2008 when it was primarily, manufacturing or silicon-based companies that were there, and now, when I first came, it was difficult to find specialized engineers or engineers in software with English, and now that's completely changed. Now you fast forward 15 years, and you have software engineers in many different hyper specializations, fluent in English, and really able to offer a similar level of talent that you would find in even the US. And that didn't exist in 2008, but it's really grown a lot since then. And I think a lot of that is the investment that the government is making, as Alexis mentioned, with STEM. For example, Mexico produces around 130,000 engineers annually, and many of those engineers are software engineers. There's electrical and mechanical as well, but many of them are software. They want to be in software, and that's where a lot of job opportunities are for them because of the demand for nearshoring and the companies that are coming in. I mean, that's almost double what you see in the United States currently. So Mexico is in a great position to address the coming talent gap that we're going to see in the coming years.
And yeah, I mean, that's a great point. The difference between the nearshoring wave back in the 80s and 70s with today's trend is that, yeah, for HP and Motorola and Intel, the OG tech companies in Guadalajara, in order for them to get the benefits of the engineering offer, they will have to open operations in Mexico, because at the time, not many of these engineers were bilingual, right? So it was a different landscape. Now you don't have to open operations in Mexico. You don't have to have an entity. You can use services like KMS, companies like ours that can provide this talent to your company without having to deal with all the operations set up in another country. So, and that's because the talent in Mexico has shifted to be even more similar to the US, to the point that you have a lot of bilingual engineers. And if you were to compare the skill sets, technically they're practically the same, and now they speak English. So it's a very good fit for US companies and now to come and work with Mexican talent.
That's awesome. And Alexis, you mentioned that you might need to work with a vendor. If you're a company that's US based, you may not be able to access talent easily. Could you talk more about that and why there might be some barriers there?
Yes. And like I mentioned, now it's easier if you're a US company and you want to tap into the engineering talent out of Mexico. Yes, it's easier than before to open operations there, but it's still a struggle. It's still a hassle to open operations in a different country, right? So to me, the best way for a US company or for a company outside of Mexico to tap into that talent and to benefit from the talent is to use a vendor who's already established there, who knows the market, who can attract top talent, and then just put it at your service. So you get all the benefits from the talented population without the struggle of setting up operations. I think that's the best way. I don't know, Jason, if you agree.
Yeah, we've seen world-class brands come in and try to set up shop, and they're very household known names. And they still come to companies like us and ask us to help them find talent. And the reason for that is that the engineers in Mexico are looking for exciting and challenging projects working for technology companies. And so if a brick and mortar company comes and tries to set up shop, they have to deal with all the operations and everything that goes with trying to create an entity in a foreign country, which can be a long process and challenging. But in addition to that, when they actually get set up and they start looking for talent, they find it challenging, and they come back into nearshoring vendors because we have the experience and we have the history in the market with the talent to attract talent that they may not get if they're traditional brick and mortar companies. And there are some exceptions to that. I mean, even Amazon and Google are here, and of course, they're here because they know the talent that exists here and what they can bring in. But for those that are, not the leaders, it can be challenging to set that up. And even when you get it set up, to attract the talent that you need to do that. And so relying on vendors that are firmly established in the market, that are highly networked with the engineers, is an easier entry point than trying to set up your own shop in Mexico or a foreign market.
Gotcha.
Yes.
You mentioned some. Oh, Alexis, were you gonna jump in?
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple companies, big names, Google, Amazon, some of these, say, like big four tech companies, right, that are in Mexico, in Guadalajara. I think that really speaks to the talent pool that you could access. So I think my next question is, how is this, talent pool of just engineers who are hungry and ready for technology work? How does that impact demand for nearshoring?
Yeah, I think it's a very important factor to consider. The talent in Mexico, even uh, fresh out of college, is very attuned to the Silicon Valley. The Silicon Valley culture comes very natural to them for a couple of reasons. Of course, the obvious, it's very close, even geographically. The working culture is very similar between the US and Mexico, not only in terms of how do you approach your day-to-day, but even in aspects like holidays per year, and they're very similar, Mexico and the US. But on top of that, the universities in Mexico shape their curriculum and their programs to be aligned with what Silicon Valley needs, to what the tech companies in the US needs, because they understand that they will be their employees, or I mean the employers of the of these students, right? Once they graduate. So the talent that and the skill set that the students are being taught is very aligned to the current trends and to the current technology that is needed by the big players. And that comes very handy, because if you want to open shop in Mexico, or if you're using a vendor like KMS, you want those top technologies. And in Mexico, they're readily available, from fresh out of college engineers to people who have 7-10 years of experience.
Yeah, and I see that all the time when we're recruiting even recent graduates. I mean, they're wanting to work on the newest technologies, and when you talk to them, it's not just about, you know, the benefits. It's more about what are they going to be working on, and what does their future look like. And the engineers are keeping a pulse on what's trending in Silicon Valley. They know what's hot and where they want to be, and what they want to go, what they want to grow into. And so we help guide them and grow them as well. But I mean, there's definitely the similarity that exists between what the engineers in Silicon Valley are doing and what engineers in Mexico are striving to achieve. Now, that being said, there's still general skills available. And so, you may get someone hyper specialized in one technology, but they still have, experience in core areas and core development areas and technologies and skills. So it makes for very well-rounded engineers that are very flexible, that can be plugged into your teams.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like this concept, the Silicon Valley of Mexico, right? That seems to be kind of what we're getting at here. I think one of the big defining factors in Silicon Valley is there's a huge startup culture. Is that also influencing Guadalajara? How is that all playing out?
Yes, definitely. And I feel like this latest trend in nearshoring, the other factor that I haven't mentioned is the startup culture. Around 2010, a lot of startups from California started open operations in Mexico, and especially in Guadalajara, and that has created a very rich environment. They say that if you want to open a tech startup in Latin America, the first place they should be looking at is Guadalajara. For a few reasons, the talent pool, given all of the world-class universities that are there, to the benefits that the government offers for the startup. So if you're in a startup, a tech startup looking to open operations in Mexico, if you go to Guadalajara, you will receive a lot of benefits to open operations there. So it's that makes the context, like the general environment of Guadalajara, very friendly for startups. And that also means that if you are an engineer, you see working for a startup as a feasible option. And I will say not only feasible, but people want to work for startups because, as Jason said, they want that challenge. They want that fast-paced environment. They want to be working with the latest technology. They want to be agile. They want to move fast. And so I will say that's another benefit of companies like KMS, because given our size and given that we are a pure technology company, we can offer that environment to engineers, that startup-like environment that gives them these benefits to the engineers. But we can also offer that to more established enterprises. So enterprises and corporations wanting to work in Mexico, they can tap into the talent that wants to work for a startup through KMS. And so when you do that, you have like a match made in heaven, right? You have engineers working for challenges, looking for challenges, I mean, and then but for your enterprise, right? But Jason, I don't know if that resonates with your experience.
Yeah, it's surprising to see how the startup culture and ecosystem has evolved. Like Alexis said, since around 2010. For example, I was recently on vacation in San Francisco and had some family in San Jose. And I said, "Oh well, I'm gonna go to some technical meetups." And so I went to a couple, and there were only like, I went to a JavaScript one, there were like 10 people there. And I'm saying, I often go in Guadalajara and there's 100, 200 people in these meetups. And I'm sitting there in these meetups, and what you see is, you see venture capitalists from the US in these meetups. You see venture capitalists from Mexico that are growing and building their own teams right here, right? And so, I'm asking myself, why is why is there so many more people here than there are in San Jose? And I can just I attribute it to the demand. The engineers really want to be there. They want that. It's important to them, and the tech companies that are there, they're taking advantage of it, because they're getting people with similar talent level at 40 or 50% less cost, and they're building the same type of products that they would with a team in San Jose. And so, like, the people that are participating in that, there's great opportunity for the engineers, and there's great opportunity for startups. And there's the job market is warming back up. VC money is coming back in. And Mexico is going to be, and will continue to be, in a great position to satisfy that gap. And so, yeah, the startup scene, if it's really incredible to see how far it's come in the last 10 years.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And it sounds like if you are, a larger corporation and you're competing with these startups that are just very flashy, it might be hard for you to make inroads. So looking for someone who has established roots in Mexico, in that community, you might have better luck. That's great. I think as we're talking about nearshoring in Mexico in particular, how does Mexico compare to other outsourcing options? What might be some of the benefits of looking at Mexico versus another location?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. And without talking negatively of any other country or location in Latin America, but Mexico is very stable. First of all, if you look at the macroeconomics data of the last few years in Mexico, they're very stable and they're growing. And for few different factors, right? The government support, the alignment with the US and Canada. We don't need to forget that for the last 30 years, there has been an agreement between the three countries in North America, which also is a point that we shouldn't forget. Mexico is North America, right? Mexico, the US, and Canada, and they have this agreement. It was called NAFTA. Now it's called USMCA, NAFTA 2.0, as some people call it. So that, and I'm saying this because that really reflects on the stability of Mexico. It's from the macroeconomics to the social issues and context, it's pretty stable. It's and especially in cities like Mexico City, Monterrey, Guadalajara, it's you will find, like we say, the talent, the infrastructure, and the stability that makes your operations to flow nicely. Like you won't see any disruptions in your operations, and the talent is readily available. So that means that whenever you're ready to grow, you can do that easily. But what do you think, Jason?
Yeah, just to back your points up a little bit, Mexico is the 15th largest economy in the world. It is the second largest economy in Latin America, behind Brazil. And Guadalajara was named like one of the top technical hub in all of Latin America last year. And so, if you're looking for nearshoring and you're looking for stability, Mexico is a great option. And Guadalajara is kind of the center choice for that option for many. And, as Alexis said, the talent is available, the talent is specialized. You can find what you need for your efforts pretty easily through vendors that are well established here. And so I think that, Mexico is a top option if you're considering nearshoring. Not to mention the benefits that you might find over outsourcing with proximity and language and culture. But if you're just trying to narrow it down, like where should I be considering going if I'm considering nearshoring? I highly recommend for these reasons that you consider Mexico as one of your top options.
Oh,
And just to add,
oh, go ahead.
just to add a funny bit, but in 2023, it was named the coolest neighborhood in the world. There's a list there. I can provide some links to it. The best neighborhood in the world was the Colonia Americana neighborhood in Guadalajara. So even the cool factor, Guadalajara comes at the top.
Yeah, it's very cool. That's where I live.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, it's you come here, you visit, and it's not only are the engineers great, but the people are great, the food's great, and the neighborhood that Alexis is talking about, it really is a cool place to be.
Gotcha. So lots of talented engineers who are looking for tech jobs so they can live in these cool neighborhoods. It sounds like they'd be pretty motivated to do well for the companies they're working for.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining. We are running up against the top of the hour, but this was a great conversation. I think for anyone who's listening, who's considering looking at nearshore, looking at Mexico, I think they hopefully got a lot of great insights out of this conversation. So thank you both for joining us, listeners. I appreciate your time here. Please look forward to the next episode of So You Think You Can Dev. And if you're interested in learning more about nearshoring or speaking to either Alexis or Jason, feel free to reach out on the KMS Technology website. We have a contact us form in the top right corner. We would love to hear from you. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.